Newsmax Prime, as we rightfully remember those brave Americans who mounted the invasion of Europe 72 years ago today, we should likewise question the ongoing de facto invasion of this country by illegal aliens. The latest outrage? Well, the Department of Homeland Security is taking illegals from the border, moving them to interior cities in the United States. Is this truly a Department of Homeland Security or some sort of perverted welcome wagon? Judicial Watch reports the DHS is moving illegal immigrants from the border to Phoenix, releasing them without proper processing or issuing court appearance documents. For more on this disturbing story, we're very pleased to be joined by the Southwest Projects Coordinator for Judicial Watch, Mark Spencer. Mark is Skyping in tonight from Phoenix. Mark, what is the deal here? This is outrageous, but you uncovered it, and you have footage of these guys showing up at the Greyhound bus station in Phoenix.
Yeah, we sure do, JD. I tell you, one thing you can say about the Obama administration is they are consistent. They consistently lay down the rule of law and put our border at risk. And specifically for those out here in Arizona, our Arizona southern border is wide open, and it is dangerous, and it impacts the quality of life directly.
Now, as I understand it, the illegals that they're allowing in go by that acronym OTMs, other than Mexican. They're from Honduras, Colombia, El Salvador, Guatemala. What is the loophole they're trying to use? Is the DHS claiming they're, quote, refugees?
I wouldn't call it a loophole as much as I would call it a management decision coming from the Obama administration. In other words, these OTMs have no identification, so we don't know who they are from their home country. All that they're being vetted through is their fingerprints to make sure they don't have a criminal record here. Well, JD, that's like you having a criminal record in Japan. You've never been there. You haven't committed a crime. So there really is no assurance as to what we're getting with these OTMs except the great unknown. And so you have this group of OTMs coming on board. Some of them are claiming a verifiable fear status and getting free tickets to wherever they want to in the country.
Let us go to the phones, Mark, at 1-877-NEWSMAX, checking in from Louisiana. Cindy is on the line. Cindy, welcome to Newsmax Prime.
Hello, and I love you guys. When I just found you about 3 months ago, Newsmax, you are my
situation on our border.
On the border? Well, that's a toughie.
Well, let me just ask you this. Are you a Trump supporter?
Yes, sir, I am. And I was leery of that because I've never been into the politics.
But one of the reasons I would venture to say when he was talking tough about the border, that got a lot of people who heretofore have not been involved politically. Was that the case with you?
No. The border didn't get me on the Trump train. The border didn't, because I have dated, lived with, been in, I've been with so many illegals.
Whoa,
but
Cindy.
Can I say this?
Go ahead.
My phone's going dead. I'm plugging it up.
All right. Well, listen, Cindy, try to get that phone recharged. Let me get back to Mark Spencer. Mark, as we're about to get Cindy to drop some personal secrets on the air, there's another little secret out there. You know how leftists are all open borders? Well, it's very interesting. Esquire magazine sent one of its very liberal reporters down to our border to assess the situation. Editor-in-chief Jay Fielden was on MSNBC's Morning Joe early this morning to give some insight on what Esquire and the liberal reporters found out when they did what you and I have done for a long time, Mark, go down and talk to people on the border. Here's what he had to say.
They said build the wall. They said two things, whether it was Hispanic, Anglo, Democrat, Republican, uncommitted, clueless, whatever. They said we want a wall, and yet we want it to be married with some compassion toward the people that we're trying to
Here's another surprising thing from the article.
So the people want the wall. And look, everybody wants to be compassionate, but there's nothing compassionate about allowing people to repeatedly break law and for lawbreakers to come north and to be involved in, well, when your first act is breaking the law, we all have a problem with that, quite simply. Mark?
Well, and JD, compassion is a valuable commodity, but when it comes to enforcing the law, it shouldn't take precedence over deterrence. Judicial Watch has a wonderful working relationship with the rank and file Border Patrol agents. They took an oath to enforce the law, and when they're directed to let illegals into the country, it clearly runs against the grain of their commitment to the rule of law, all because a Border Patrol manager wants to further a political agenda at the cost of the taxpayer. So here we have OTMs, other than Mexicans, released, and they're released with, we'll call it a pinky swear. In other words, there's not even an official piece of paper they're given for an NTA, a notice to appear. They're just told, do you promise to appear in front of an immigration judge when we ship you to where you want to go? So once again, where there's lack of deterrence, there's going to be a lack of quality of life, and this just really is bothersome for the rank and file Border Patrol agents.
Let's take another call before we have to part company, Mark. I believe the caller is in the Lone Star State of Texas. David, welcome to Newsmax Prime.
Hello?
Actually, he's from America's Heartland, from Kansas. I stand corrected, David. Go right ahead, sir.
Yeah, I just had a comment. We're a nation of laws, and our government is not enforcing the laws. I'm behind Trump, and I feel like Trump happens to be like our first Tea Party here. We were rebelling against a tyrannical government, and that's what the people are right now. We, the people, are challenging the establishment and the national government. And the reason how come the Democrats are fighting, and the Second Amendment grants us rights to bear arms against a tyrannical government, and we've got a worse government now than what they did back at the time of the British.
As David is calling from Elmsdale, Kansas, in America's Heartland, this whole notion of laws, upholding the laws, enforcing the laws. Mark, in your opinion, and maybe it's most notable in this case with the Department of Homeland Security, we have an administration right now that refuses to enforce the law. We've got about 45 seconds for your final comments.
Well, and what's unfortunate is here you have a Border Patrol commissioner that's a political appointee that questions the veracity of the men and women that actually do the work on the border and says, if you don't like it, leave. They don't like it because it runs against their grain to their oath to enforce the rule of law, and that impacts the safety of the country.
Mark Spencer, via Skype from Phoenix, for purposes of full disclosure. When Mark was running the Phoenix Law Enforcement Association, I was pleased that they conferred their endorsement for the U.S. Senate on a certain candidate about 6 years ago. I forget his name. Oh, he's the guy here on Newsmax TV now. Mark, thank you for your insights and analysis as you handle things in the Southwest there for Judicial Watch. We'll get to some of your comments tomorrow night. We want to thank you for your time tonight. Stay tuned for Dennis Michael Lynch. In the interim, stay brave, stay free, stay tuned.